Good to everybody. We're up to the Mishnah on Sadik Amid Beis, the last word on the page. Now we know an Einain is someone who is the day of the Kfura. So an Einain, now at this point in time, you cannot eat the Korban Pesach, but in the evening you will be able to. So we're worried that the Einain has right now it's in front of him, and the Hamakapeach Esagal, someone's clearing a disaster. Let's say a wall fell down, and there's a body on the wall, and you don't know if the body's dead or alive. They told him that you're in prison, and they told him you're going to get out. And the chayla is talking that they're all able to eat the kazayas. So right now, at this point in time, ostensibly, they will be available to eat the Korban Pesach in the evening. The halacha is shochten aleim al kulam. You can shecht aleim al kulam. Shochten aleim. Stop. I'm right. Shochten aleim al kulam. If, in other words, they can be included in the chabura. They can be included in the chabura. Rashi says shochten alav. The mikomakam aydenu becheskas tahira. The person who is being mafakeh chasagal, he's in the chazaka of being tahar. But nami leurta chazi. In the evening he'll be able to eat it. Kidaminum the Gemara. So therefore, in all these cases, it will be okay. So sheikhtem aleim means bechabura. They can be part of a chabura. However, ain't sheikhtem aleim if they atzman. Why? Shema yavio isay pesach l'dei psul. Because the possibility exists that therefore what the pesach l'dei psul. Let's say the oinin in his trouble dealing with the mace is going to become tameh. Let's say the person who is clearing the gal finds the guy dead. Let's say they don't let him out of prison, and there the Korban Pesach, it was only shechted for this individual, you'll bring the base up soul. So to be included with a group of others that you could do, but zich alein you cannot do. Im ira behen psul, therefore im ira behen psul petur milasos Pesach sheni. Going back to the case of the chabura. Therefore, since at the time of the shechita they were roy, and that they did the zrika correctly, if the psul happens, then to be part from doing the Pesach. We had that case before, right? The case where the other day we just had a person was leishanu that before the zrika that he forgot before the zrika, then it won't be good. But if the guy after the zrika, remember the guy told his evet to go ahead and bring a carbon, then it'll be okay. As long as the zrika is done okay. So therefore, over here also, if the zrika was done okay, it's going to work out. Says Rashi, lefikach hoyel b'shash shchita ru'uyin hein v'nizruk adam aleihem imir b'em psul k'moshe parashti peturin mil alas pesach shenin to be pata. But with one exception, chutz min hakapeach begal shu tamei mitchilasei ken zayin that he was tamei even before. So therefore he would not be pata on pesach sheni.
Is the Einan is not allowed to bring the Korban Pesach, but is he allowed to eat the Korban Pesach, the Einan?
An einin is you can bring the Korban Pesach for him.
Right, but he's not. The eating is not really the mitzvah. Is that considered a mitzvah that he's not allowed to do? Einan?
In the evening, he's able to eat it. In the evening, he's able to eat it. Only.
So you're afraid of the tumah only. That
aninus is only the Rabbana in the evening.
Right.
Says the Gemara. Amar Rav Huna Amar Yochanan lo yishanu v'lo beis habisurim da'akam. That we said if he's in a prison. That they promised they're going to let him go, and we're worried that maybe at Zichalein we won't set him out. In other words, we won't shecht it alone. It's only if he's in a Goyish prison. I will base assume the Yisrael sheichtim if they yatzman. If he's in a Jewish prison, then you could shecht. Why? Even after chinu, since they told him you're going to be pardoned, you're going to be out. Mapikle, they're going to keep it. Chsiv sheretz Yisrael yasu avla lo yidaberu kosav. They don't lie. So very, very interesting, guys. What's the concept of a Jewish prison? When would you have a Jewish prison, right? So Rashi addresses it. It's fascinating. Look at this Rashi. A Jewish prison. Beis Asurim Shal Yisrael. Right after it says Gemara, 2 lines down. Kigoin lekoifoy lahoitzi isha. Right? You want to go ahead. Psula. He's married to a woman that's puzzle. We're going to force him. We'll keep him in prison until he goes and divorces her. Or l'shalei mamin, or a person who refuses to pay up. Will incarcerate him. Inami kidatanya If he hits somebody, his eved, he hits him too hard. So we have to wait to see if he gets up from his injuries. If he gets up after a day, after 24 hours, then you're free. But for 24 hours, not, we'll incarcerate him. We don't go ahead and let this guy be in the hospital and this guy walking around. We'll incarcerate him. So the Jewish prison was for temporary incarceration. Think about the money they saved. How much money do we save on prisoners in the penal system? We spend crazy amounts of money keeping people in prison. And in Israel, in ancient Israel, there was no prison for very, very part-time things, just as a deterrent to go ahead and get people to move. It's a side point of the Gemara, but I find it fascinating. That's if it's only outside the Yerushalayim. Himself, my time, the guy's in prison, but the prison's within the Yerushalayim. Then he'd be able to send the Korban Pesach with a shliach, and then in the evening they bring the Korban Pesach to him. So that we said that you can't shech zechalein it's only in a Goyish prison. It's only if the location is outside Yerushalayim where they can't bring it to him. But in Yerushalayim where they could bring it to him, you would even be able to shech there. Lefikach, therefore, we said, Emirim Psul Paturim Lasas Pesach Sheni. Amar Rabbi Chana Amar Rabbi Yochanan Lo Shanu. We said the case of Mefakech is a gal. The case where that we won't let him shech because maybe he became tamei before. Lo Shanu El Gal Ogel. Let's say it's a round gal. So in other words, the only shiloh is if the person's dead or not. Look at my hands. I have a gal that looks like this, and I'm digging it out. So if I'm on top of it, clearly if the person's underneath, I'm being mahil on the person. Again, the tumah we'll worry about here is tumas oil. So if it's like this, I'm being mal on this, there's no shiloh. But let's see, it's elongated, the gal like this. Then even if you shecht, he would be kasha. Why? Because like a svek. A, maybe he's alive. B, and even if he's dead, maybe he's over here and I'm being mal over here. So therefore, says Rabbi Yochanan, Leishanu elagal ogel. Avogal orach, if it's a pile of orach that's long, patam yalas Pesach Sheni. Ema why tohu b'shash shchita. Tanya mihachi Rav Shimon ben Rabbi Yochanan ben Omer mifatech hagal itim pata itim chayiv. Sometimes you chayiv, sometimes you pata. Ketzad, when are you chayiv? Gal ogel v'nimtzes tuma tafta chayiv. We'll say you chayiv. Gal orach v'nimtzes tuma tafta pata. Maybe he was tor at the time of Shechita. Next Mishnah. Ein sheitin Pesach al yachid. Did Rabbi Yehuda. You'll never shech the Korban Pesach for a single individual. Again, the reason why we saw the other day, you don't want to have nicer. You want to make sure that everything's eaten. There's a mitzvah that you should leave over something till the morning. It's a mitzvah I say. You should leave over something till the morning, right? Don't leave it over to the morning. So lois I say. If you do, then there's a lavanita, right? Or it's lav shem b'maisa. We had a machlokes. But the bottom line is, but you shouldn't leave over. So therefore, the Korban Pesach was usually eaten b'chabura. One individual to eat a whole Korban Pesach, I mean, I guess if it's a very small lamb or a very small goat or with a big appetite, but in general, we don't do that. Ein shochem Pesach al yachid of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi matter. Rabbi Yossi says it's permitted. If the a chabura shalmeya she'eni yachal lechol kazayis ain't shochem aleihen. In other words, let's say you have a chabura and there's two machlokes Rashi and the Rambam. They won't be able to eat a kazayis between them, or each individual are able to eat a kazayis. The ain oisin chaburas nashim avad mekatanim. You don't make a chabura of what? Of nashim avad mekatanim. Let's see Rashi here. Va'afilu chabura shalmeya. Rabbi Yossi kamalor. Rabbi Yossi stating this. Klaimar. Lo yitalya milsa the Pesach ela b'achilas yachid v'yachal lechol kazayis. We view it as what? An individual that's able to eat a kazayis. Then shoichten alav meya. Then shoichten alav. In other words, if this individual is able to eat a kazayis, then we'll shecht it. Meya ve'ein yichayim lechol kazayis bein kulam. You hear this? There's such a people, a row that they won't be able to eat a kazayis between them. Ain't shoichten aleim. The Rambam says each individual will eat a kazayis you need. Rashi says a kazayis between meya. Yes, Maish.
Didn't we have a previous Gemara where there was a chabura of nashim? We asked the question from there.
We didn't get to the nashim chabura of women, just women.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't get to this Gemara. We said you could. We said over here, we're going to see that means when they're mixed together, not Sechaleim.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Says the Gemara, Tanabanan. How do you know you don't shecht on the yachid? I would say it's a svara. I would say because they can't eat the whole thing. So Rashi avoided that. Rashi said if you could, an individual could eat a kazayas, then you would shecht. Again, Rashi says, guys, Rabbi Yossi Kamalei, Kloimar, Leitalia Mils the Pesach Ela Be'achilas Yachid V'Yachal Lechol Kazayas, and he's able to go ahead what and eat a kazayas. So again, I don't know what they do with nicer. I don't know. L'chayra, according to Rashi, what does he mean? One person could eat a kazayas and you'll shecht at an individual. I guess for him to yaitz is chiyav. Now the pasuk says ba'achad she'orecha. So the play on words is don't shech the pesach ba'achad. Don't shech it with one. Rabbi Yehuda. This is the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi Yomer yachid v'yachal la'oichloi. A yachid and he's able to eat it. Sheichten alav. Yachid is able to eat again Rashi Kazayas. Then you will shech. Asara v'yachal la'ochloi. 10 and you're not able to eat. It's interesting. The Mishnah said 100. Ain't sheichten alayim. You don't shech. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi, hi be'achem ma'yavelei. Rabbi Yossi, what does he do? Rabbi Yehuda's raya says Rabbi Yehuda leisuchalecha be'achad shorecha. Achad means afilu what leisuchal. You can't go ahead and shech for one. Rabbi Yossi says no, you could shech for one. What does Rabbi Yossi do with the raya of Rabbi Yehuda? He boiled Rabbi Shimon. He's a Rabbi Shimon's thing. The Tanya Shimon Omer minayin l'zavayachas pischay bebamas yachid. Now there was a time where bamas were permitted. Just quickly, I've said this before. Let's go through it quickly. They went into Eretz Yisrael. There was 7 years of kibbutz, 7 years of chiluk, of capturing and dividing. Those 14 years, the Mishkan was in Gilgal. During that time, bamas yachid, individual bamas were permitted for personal karbanos only. A communal carbon had to be brought to the Mishkan in Gilgal. Next, it was 369 years. Was the Mishkan was in Shiloh. Shiloh was destroyed. The next 44 years was in Noven Givon until during Noven Givon was permitted again until they came to the base Hamikdash Beis Halamim and it's not permitted anymore. So now says Rabbi Yossi. What does Rabbi Yossi do with Rabbi Yehuda's ba'ad? What does he do with it? He uses it for Rabbi Shimon's thing. Tanya. Rabbi Shimon if you shech your korban Pesach on an individual bama, b'shas isra bamas, when bamas were not permitted. Shehu b'loy saseh. How do you know you're over a lav? In other words, just a loy saseh. Guys, here's the case. If you shech a korban outside the Beis Hamikdash, it's called shchut chutz. You're chayiv kares. But that's only if you shecht it in the zman. So let's say I shecht the korban Pesach on the morning of Yedalid, before 12:30, before Chatzos, right? We said the korban Pesach has to be shechted bein Rabbayim, and it was even shech, and we said even later after the korban tamid. Let's say I shechted before the zman. It's a korban. Am I chayiv kares for shchutei chutz or not? Says the Gemara, you're not chayiv, but you are over a lav. That's the pasuk we're saying right now. So I'm not able to shech the Pesach b'achat sherecha, so it's a lav. Loy suchal. You can't do it. Yochalaf b'shas heter abamis kain. I think when bamis are permitted, you're over a lav. Tamaloymar b'achat sherecha. Loy amru el b'shas she'achol asher kol Yisrael nichnasim b'shar echad. The only time it's a lav is when all Bnei Yisrael come b'shar echad, meaning they come to the Beis Hamikdash or Shiloh. But in the time where they don't come universally together, then there's no lav. For Rabbi Yehuda, Haimin Ale, Rabbi Yehuda uses the achad to teach me you can't shecht one. How does he know ba'achad sherecha, the sin of bamis, and the time we come in one shar, we all come in as one. He has both from the achad sherecha. He has achad, you can't shecht it alone, and also achad sherecha, one gate. Only when there's one gate are you over the lav. Rabbi Yossi, Mimaydullah ha'achikama, Rabbi Shimon, Dilma to come Rabbi Yehuda. How does Rabbi Yossi know ba'achat sherecha go in the direction of Shimon and say that's coming to teach us the din of Bamas Yachid? Maybe it's coming to teach us the din of Rabbi Yehuda that you can't shech b'yachid. Now, Rabbi Yossi, guys, you have two ways to go over here. The achat can teach me you can't shech b'yachid. The achat teach me you're over a lav, you're not chayiv v'shchut because it's chutzless, because it's outside of the zman. Why did Rabbi Shimon opt for that? Rabbi Yossi, why didn't he opt for that for Rabbi? Why did Rabbi Yossi opt for Rabbi Shimon? Why did Rabbi Yossi opt for Rabbi Yehuda and say you cannot go ahead and shech beyond? Rabbi Yossi said you could shech the korban Pesach for one person. So what's the reason? It's not sal kedaitach Rabbi Yehuda. Ish lefi achloi. Ish, a man lefi achloi. Mashma what? A person eats. He eats a kazayas. He's good. So therefore, that was Machriya Rabbi Yossi to go in the direction of Shimon to Darshan Bamas Yachid and say that what an individual could check the carbon pesach for an individual. Rab Ukva Marchenina, Parishna, that's the name of a place, Larava. Me and Rabbi Yehuda ain't shechting the Pesach al Yachid. Does Rabbi Yehuda in fact say you can't check the carbon pesach on an individual, or Reminu al Yesu Shtira, Isha Berishain, a woman Berishain, on carbon pesach Rishain, Sheichten Aleha Bifnei Atzma. You would be able to shecht alone. You hear this? A woman alone, one. So pashtus, you could shecht for an individual. Ubik Sheni and Pesach Sheni, she can be part of a chabura. So Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Says Rabbi Yehuda, again, woman Pesach Rishon alone, Pesach Sheni can be with others. You got your kasha guys. Rabbi Yehuda said in our Mishnah, you can't shecht for a yachid. Here apparently he says you could shecht for a single individual woman, right? How do you answer that, guys? Right? Don't say her alone. Atzman means a group of women. A group of women. So you see a group of women, in fact, you could shecht for. And that's Moshe's kasha. It ends Moshe's teretz. Do you make a chabura that are all women? For Tanan, my love, doesn't mean each one separately. You can't have women with avodim because of averis. You're worried about snus. And ketanim v'avodim, amibeis, ketanim v'avodim not. Mishum pitzusa. Mashma woman avodim would be good. Okay, the bottom line is that woman all alone, you wouldn't be able to have a chabura wat for just women. That answers Moshe's question. Now we're going to analyze. So what was the question? Says Rabbi Yehuda, you can't shecht for an individual. We have a brayso that says you could shecht for an individual woman. And for the Gemara, it's speaking for a group of women. Atzma, not atzma, but atzman. Now we're going to analyze that last brayso we said. To analyze Rabbi Yehuda, which you brought as a question. Gufa will analyze it for itself. We're going to bring in three shitas. Gufa, Isha b'Rishayin, a woman by Pesach Rishayin, Shoichten aleha b'fnei atzma. You could go ahead and shecht alone for her. Ubisheni, and the second one, Oisa satfedel acherim, she can only be part of a chabura de Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda limits her by Pesach Sheni. Rabbi Yossi, I mean, no difference Pesach Rishon, no difference Pesach Sheni. Isha b'Sheni, Shoichten aleha b'fnei atzma. An Isha on the second, you could shecht. If you go ahead and shecht for us alone on Pesach Sheni, certainly you can shecht for her on Pesach Rishon. So Rabbi Yossi is the most makel regarding Isha. Rabbi Shimon is the most machmir. Rabbi Shimon Oimer, B'Rishon, Oisa Sat Tefelu Lacher. She can be part of a chabura, but never at any point can you shecht for a woman alone. Right? You never could shecht alone. And B'Sheni, and the second one, Ein Shecht Kolika, you don't shecht for her at all. So let's go through three sheetas again. Rabbi Yehuda, Pesach Rishon, alone. Pesach Sheni with a chabura. Rabbi Yossi, alone. Rabbi Shimon, Pesach Rishon, chabura. Pesach Sheni, not at all. Those are the three sheetas. And now we're going to look for the source for those three different sheetas. B'may kamiflagi, Rabbi Yehuda Sava, when it says the pasuk, the michsas nefashos, the number of nefashos, va'afilu nashim. Nefashos is mashma, any type of nefesh, even women. So just like a man are mechuyev in Pesach Rishon, women are mechuyev in Pesach Rishon. V'chi tema, if you're going to say ihachi, afilu b'sheni nami, so if that's the case, then Pesach Sheni also she should be shecht alone like Rishon. Ksiv, it says chatu yisa ish. If you don't bring the Pesach Sheni, this ish has done an aveira. And what does it say? It says ish, right? Ahu ish in ish aloi. So therefore, right? So therefore, maybe tell me not at all. V'chi temi hachi afilu tefilin nami. Rabbi Yehuda holds a woman can be part of the chabur in the second. Now you're telling me she can't be individually alone in the second because we have a miyat. It says ish. So it has ish. Let's hold like Rav Shimon. Let's get it totally out, right? It says no. Like why? Because ahani kechol chukas pesach l'tefela ba'alma. It says you should do the Pesach Sheni kechol chukas Pesach Harishon. And just like a woman is in the ballpark called chukas Pesach Harishon, she's in the ballpark of Sheni, but only vis-a-vis being part of a chabura because ish yisa, because only a man was a mite. For Rabbi Yossi, who says she's in for both, again, Rabbi Yossi says she's in for both. My timer, the chsib b'rishon b'mitzvus nefashos, va'afilu isha, u'chsib pesach sheni, V'nichlusa hanefesh ahim Yisrael. Nefesh v'afilu nashim. Ve'elachotu yisa ish. What does Rabbi Yossi do with the miyat of Rabbi Yehuda? We have a miyat that the man did an avera. I l'chayr according to Rabbi Yossi, women are did an avera as well, but it says man. It says no lamute. My lamute cotton to mikaris. It comes to exclude a cotton from karis. You might think a cotton that goes ahead and doesn't bring a pesach. He's chayav karis. Kamash malan. Now you're all going to ask the question, right? What's the question? It's a layup, guys, right? The cotton. You need a mir for a cotton. A cotton is not the barinish, right? Okay, let's see. Second Taisus now. Second Taisus. Ish v'loy cotton tema. Avunda says Taisus. Amai itzrich. What do you need a pasuk? Ish to be mamayir a cotton from karis. The heichim etzina shechayiv cotton b'mitzvahs. Where do you find a cotton chayiv mitzvahs that if he doesn't bring a pesach, he should be chayiv karis that you need a miyat? The yeshleima the itzrich lekotton shehigdol ben shnei psachim. He became a gadol between Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni. He became 13 between Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni. The Salkadite, if the Chayav lasses Pesach Sheni, Kimash Malon, the Sheni Tashlum and the Rishon who. Very Gishmakateretz, right? That's the miyat for a cotton that became a gadol. So you might think he's Chayav Karas, so he doesn't bring Pesach Sheni. Kimash Malon, since he wasn't a gadol, but just Pesach Rishon, he doesn't have to go ahead and bring Pesach Sheni. That's the miyat. Back inside, Rav Shimon. Now, Rav Shimon, guys. So we have. Let's see what we have so far. Let's go. We have Rabbi Michsas Nefashos. That says women. Sai according to Rabbi Yehuda. Sai according to Rabbi Yossi. It says both. According to Rabbi Yehuda, a woman is out of the ballpark of Pesach Sheni because it says the pasuk says v'ish the cheta yisa ishahu. It says ish, not woman. Rabbi Yossi says no. It says v'nichmasa nefesh and woman's b'chal nefesh. And the Mir of Ish is using to be Ma'ir cotton, who became a gadol before Pesach Sheni. Now, Rabbi Shimon Shita, she's part of a Chabura in the Rishain, and she's added the ballpark totally in Sheni. Okay, where does he get that in from? Rabbi Shimon, Ksib Rishain Ish Asher Hoyev Derech Chayka Itam Lenefesh in Ishaloi. So the Ish that says by Pesach Sheni is Ma'ir Pesach Sheni. Now. Which Ish are you talking about? I just told you wrong shot. That one I just told you. This is speaking about Pesach Rishon. So the Gemara is going to ask which Ish is it talking about? Ish in Ishaloi. It doesn't say Ish. I read it wrong. One more time. Erase that. Reb Shimon Ksiv Rishon Ish. We're going to look for the pasuk in a second. Ish in only a man is part of Pesach Rishon. Ishaloi. If you're going to say Nami, so she should be out of the pole bark even for a Chabura. And Reb Shimon holds Pesach Rishon, she is in the Chabura. Ahani loy mixes the fashos litfela. Yihachi I feel litfela nami loy. Ahani loy mixes the fashos litfela. That she's part of the Chabura. So Ish is a miyat that she's not mechuyev alone. Mixes the fashos litfela. V'chitema feel b'sheni nami miyat rachman. That she doesn't have to bring that sheni at all. B'sheni dechsiv chatu yisa ish in ishaloi. Memai komemai imechiyev. In other words, there's a miyat by the second one. So if she's not chayiv zichalein in the first one, the miyat in the second one must be to go ahead and take it totally out. Guys, 3 madregas. Mechuyev totally, chabura totally out. If she's not chayiv the first one, she's only chayiv in the second one, and you have a miyat, the miyat must be going on the second one. So the second one is that she's a chabura. So the miyat on the third must be go ahead to take her out completely. Says Rav Shimon, she's not chayiv at all for Pesach Sheni. What's the ish that Reb Shimon uses for Pesach Rishon? It says v'yichulem ish sel lebeis avos. Ahumi boilei l'Reb Yitzchak. Amar ish zeicha ve'en kata zeicha. Reb Yitzchak says that a cotton cannot be zeicha for somebody. An ish can be zeicha for somebody, but a cotton can't be zeicha for somebody. The Gemara, the Rashi said, okay, what's the Taisus saying? So that can't be. So since I used it for Rabbi Yitzchak's din, I can't use the V'yichalem Ish Seh by Pesach Rishon for Rabbi Shimon Seh. Okay, just to reiterate, says Rav Shimon by Pesach Rishon it says Ish, and he's memayed Ish that only a man is mechuyev and a woman's not alone. It says Michsas Nefashos that a woman, Rav Shimon says, will be mechayev to be part of a chabura. We're just finding out which Ish was the Reb Shimon referring to. That's memayed a woman from being in totally level number 1 in the ballpark by Pesach Rishon. We're trying to figure that out. So we can't be from the Yichlem Ish Celibate base because that we're using for Rabbi Yitzchak. We use Rabbi Yitzchak's thing that only a man can be Zaycha for somebody else, and a cotton can't. Velam ish lefi achloi. Now it says ish according to what he eats. Hamid Rabbi Yossi savalak Reb Shimon. Rabbi Yossi holds like Reb Shimon. Rabbi Yossi holds like Reb Shimon. You can't shech the Pesach lebamas yachid. Reb Shimon nami savalak Reb Yossi. He holds like Reb Yossi that he uses the ish lefi achloi that you can shech for an individual. Vahumi boilei the shaytanas the Pesach al yachid. So you can't use that ish either. So malach and kain nichtav man lefi achloi. My ish shmamina tarti. So the word ish we get two. We get ish lefi achloi that you can't shecht on a yachid, that you could shecht on a yachid, and we also hear ish that only an ish is in Pesach Rishon and not an isha. K'man oz lahadam Rabbi Laza isha b'Rishon chayva. A woman is mechuyev in Pesach Rishon u'b'sheni rishus. It's going to end up like Rabbi Yehuda, guys. V'doiches a Shabbos. Fred Gemara rishus. If it's a rishus, it might doiches a Shabbos. Ela b'sheni rishus. Don't say Shabbos, but say on Pesach Sheni it's a rishus. U'b'rishon chayva v'doiches a Shabbos. Keman Rabbi Yehuda. That's Rabbi Yehuda because according to Rabbi Yossi, there's no difference between Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni. According to Rabbi Shimon, she's a tuffle in Pesach Rishon and not chayv at all in Pesach Sheni. Rabbi Yochanan, einoisen chaburas shekula gerim. You don't make a chabura all of gerim. Shemi yidakvu boy v'yavil de psul. Maybe they're dagdik and they won't do it correctly. It's mashma from over here that they don't know what they're doing, so they're going to do something wrong. Tarabanan. Pesach umatzah umara berishain chayva. Pesach matzah umara berishain. The current Pesach is a chayv. Mikan ve'elech. From then and on, when's rishus? The Gemara wants to know. We're going to figure what does that mean. Shimon Aimer. Ba'anoshim chayva, by men it's a chiyuv, u'b'noshim rishus. Ahei koi. What exactly is this going on? What's that last statement? Mikan ve'elech rishus of the Tanna Kama. Right? What is it going on? Is it going on Pesach? Is it going on Matzah Umara? What's it going on? Again, Tanna Kama said Pesach. It says Pesach Matzah Umara and it says the rishus. Excuse me. Ahei ilema Pesach. If you can say it's going on the Korban Pesach. Pesach kol shiva mi'ika. Do you have Pesach, a dinner Pesach all 7 days? Well, it must be going on matzah umara. Must be going on matzah umara. Mashma mara, there's a dinner of mara that's not gebunden to the Pesach, right? Ema seifa, Reb Shimon Aimer, ba'anoshim chayva, u'b'noshim rishus. Says the Gemara. Let's later, Reb Shimon hadam Rabbi Laza, noshim chayavis ba'achilas matzah v'atoira. In other words, you're telling me it's rishus. Women are mechuyev to eat matzah. I hope Minky's listening. This is one of the questions I get the girls out in Prospect Park and all guys in my Daf Yomi share until they learn Pesach Pesachim. What's the reason women are mechuyev? It's mitzvah eshesh zman grama. Why are women mechuyev in matzah? And don't tell me afem hayabos anes. Tell me because we make a hekesh between matzah and chametz. Just like women are in the ballpark of chametz, they're in the ballpark of matzah. Nashim chayovas b'achila matzah devar toirish nemar l'soichel of chametz shivas yamim toichel of matzah. Tonight eat chametz 7 days eat matzah. Kol sheyeshnei b'bal toichel chametz. Anyone is in the category of bal toichel chametz. Yeshnei b'kum moichel matzah. V'hani nashim, these women, hayol v'yeshnei b'bal toichel chametz. Since they're in the category of not eating chametz, yeshnei b'kum achei matzah. So you have a problem. You're telling me that Reb Shimon's rishus goes on matzah. You would disagree with this limud. Elaima Pesach matzah mara b'rishon chayva. Say Pesach matzah rishon as a chayv. Mikan ve'elech rishus. Meaning Pesach, Mikan ve'elech means Pesach Sheni. Reb Shimon Aimer Pesach b'noshim chayva b'noshim rishus. So Ella, look at Rashi. Ella hachi kama. Pesach matzah mara b'rishon chayva. Mikan ve'elech rishus. The koy hay mikan ve'elech matzah umara. Reb Shimon Polag Pesach. He argues on Pesach. The comment b'rishon chayva. You said it's chayv. B'noshim hu dahavi chayva. Avo b'noshim rishus. Reb Shimon l'tamei. So he's not arguing by matzah umara. He's arguing on Pesach. You say Pesach after Pesach Rishon is a chayv. I'm telling you it's not a chayv. It's only rishus. In fact, Reb Shimon goes to Tasai that you're not chayv in anything. Let me admit, Penny, so we can all say, Penny, you missed it. Let's say you're unmuted, everybody. Let's unmute you. Penny?
I'm here.
We're not unmuted.
How do I unmute everybody? You can unmute yourselves. Everyone unmute yourselves.
Penny, you missed it.
Penny, we can't see you, Penny.
Let's see you so we could say goodbye.
We're almost